Isn't it great to have a young man that's got his head straight and that loves his country and that is so eloquent? I'll tell you what, Ted is very, very fortunate to have a young man like John Fletcher working with the campaign. He brings a lot of energy to the campaign, and we need to reach millennials. Unfortunately, universities across the United States are being run by a whole bunch of Marxist professors, which are brainwashing kids with the virtues of socialism. Socialism has never worked anywhere in the world. You just think about this. Before Castro, Cuba was tied with Argentina for the two richest countries in Latin America. Cuba had a very, very high standard of living, 8th and 9th in the world in skilled and unskilled labor, higher than half of Europe. Today, the average salary in Cuba is $20 a month. You look at Venezuela, biggest oil reserves of any country in the world. Today, people are starving to death in Venezuela. They're going through garbage cans looking for food. That's socialism. And don't be deceived. Socialism, Marxism, communism, whether they want to call it democratic socialism, is all the same. And it boils down to this. You're too dumb to know what you want or need, the government will tell you. And what it does is makes us all slaves of the government. We need to realize that we are not a democracy. We need to understand this. Democracy has never worked. Democracy is mob rule. Democracy is the rights of the majority. Under a democracy, the minority has zero rights. Let me give you an example of a democracy. Rwanda, the Hutus and the Tutsis. The 80% killed the 20%, over 1 million killed. That's the democracy. No, we are a constitutional representative republic where the right of each and every individual is preserved under the Constitution. That means that every individual is protected by law in this country. Everyone. Now, what that guarantees is equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome like the Democrats want to push. Equality of outcome has never worked. Because if you work twice as hard as I do and you get paid the same, you're not going to do it very long. So what happens under socialism is nobody works. The economy goes to nothing. We've seen it in country after country after country around the world. Ted's opponent is basically a socialist. He wants socialized medicine. He not only wants to reinstate Obamacare, he wants full socialized medicine. He wants open borders. He not only doesn't want a wall, he wants to tear down the walls we have. He wants to take away our guns. And let me tell you something. Look at history. George Santayana said it. If we do not learn the lessons of history, we're doomed to repeat them. Stalin took away the guns, killed 20 million people. Mao took away their guns, killed 50 million people. Pol Pot did the same, Chavez did the same, Castro did the same. Taking away the guns from the populations means the only people with guns will be the criminals. And it will become anarchy. Our opponent also wants to increase taxes again. You remember Nancy Pelosi called the tax cuts crumbs? Well, we need to herd their crumbs. Interesting how some of these people in Washington with $178,000 salary annual have become multi-millionaires. Very peculiar, isn't it? But to them it's crumbs. It is not crumbs to a hardworking family who is trying to make ends meet. Everybody in America has more money in their pockets today if they are getting a paycheck than they did even a year ago. Tax cuts have helped everyone in America. We are seeing unprecedented growth. We are seeing the lowest unemployment we've had in decades. Lowest unemployment among minorities that we've had since it's been recorded. That's because the economy is booming, and the economy is booming because there are less taxes and less regulations. What we need is not more government. We just need for government to get out of the way and let us be free to chart our own destiny instead of the government telling us what to do. I'll tell you, one of the things we need to be careful. Politicians are going to tell you what they think you want to hear. They're going to tickle your ears. Don't listen what Ted's opponent tells you. Ask him, show me the scars. When have you fought to preserve the sanctity of life? When have you fought for the right for us to keep our money in our pockets instead of having the government steal it from us to promote their programs? When have you fought, show me the scars, to protect our right to keep and bear arms, to protect our civil rights under the Constitution, to protect our freedom of religion, to protect the rule of law, to make sure that criminals and drug lords and gangs and human trafficking is not crossing the border unchecked. Ted has been a champion at fighting for we the people. He's one of the few politicians in Washington that understands that you don't work for him, but he works for you. He understands that he has between 28 and 29 million bosses. Each and every one of you he sees as his boss. And he is running again because America needs leaders that will put the country first, that will put God first, and not their own personal interest. I want to encourage you to become involved. As John Fletcher mentioned, complacency could kill us. The Democrats are going to show up in November. If we stay home, it could be a bloodbath. And let me tell you, if we lose Texas, we lose America. Amen. And I told my son 12 times, if we lose our freedoms here, there's no place to go. We are fighting for them. We are fighting for our children and grandchildren. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan says, freedom is not free. It is not passed down from generation to generation in our bloodstream. Every generation has to fight to protect it and preserve it. Or we may find ourselves in our later years telling our children and our children's children what it was like when men were free in America. I don't know about you, I'm not willing to have that conversation. We must fight to protect the future of our children and grandchildren. Truly, there is no place to go if we lose America, and if we lose Texas, we lose America. This is ground zero, and each and every one of us needs to be involved. I want to encourage you, please volunteer. Volunteer to knock on doors, to block walk, to make phone calls. We have a very simple app that you can make phone calls from your home. We have a couple of young people here that you can talk to, and they will get you plugged in. And the other thing is this. Our opponent is outraising my son Ted by almost 3-1. Hollywood is having fundraisers for this guy every week. There are millions coming into Texas from Hollywood, from New York, from Chicago. All these loony liberals are pouring millions into Texas. If you can contribute $5 or $500, it is important for us to be able to counteract the onslaught of the liberals coming into Texas. Thank you. God bless you. Let's together make sure that Texas remains free and bright red. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Texas.